Hello, this is just for the purposes of doing an audio visual check. Mr. Lowe, if you're online, can you please confirm that you can see and hear us in the chamber, please?
Hello, good evening. Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hold on.
Testing, testing.
It's easier. Don't think there's anybody left in Adlint. We've got to wait for Claire. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for attending this meeting of the Planning Committee on Tuesday, the 1st of April. I'm Councillor June Molyneux, Chair of the Committee. Councillor Hilton is Vice Chair. Please note the meeting is being streamed live on YouTube. If you're in attendance as a member of the public who's registered to speak, please note that you'll have a time limit of up to 3 minutes. The legal officer operates a stopwatch and confirm when your time runs out. You should finish, or if you're in the middle of making up a point, wind up within a few seconds. Otherwise, your microphone definitely will be muted. To assist in following the evening's proceedings, a pack's been prepared and available online containing the reports, plans, presentation slides and any updates. After officers have presented the report and any speakers made representation, I'll invite members to make any comments. When you want to speak, please raise your hand, members. And when invited to speak, remember to use your microphone and reference the paragraph number, which will allow everyone to follow. Please keep in mind that some people require closed captions and or lip reading to follow the proceedings, so please speak slowly and clearly. Please, can everybody ensure that the phones are turned to silent? We're not expecting a fire drill, so if the alarms sound, please go out the same way that you came in, because it's real. Apologies. I've received apologies from Councillor Sherwood and Councillor Lowe's substituting, and apologies from Councillor Whittaker. Before we go any further, I would like to welcome, it's Kevin's very first meeting as our new Chief Planning Officer, so I hope he settles in with us well and that's all right. Okay. Item 1, any declarations of interest, please? Members are reminded of their responsibility to declare any pecuniary interest in matters of respect of matters contained in the agenda. If you have such an interest, you must withdraw from the meeting. Normally, you should leave the room before business starts to be discussed, but you do, however, have the same right to speak as a member of the public and may remain in the room to enable you to exercise that right and leave immediately. In either case, you must not seek to improperly influence the decision on the matter. The next item, item 2, the minutes of the meeting of the 11th of March on pages 3 and 6. Can somebody move those? Thank you, Councillor Whittam. Seconded, Councillor Beach. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Item 3 is planning applications to be determined. There are 3 to be determined tonight, and I'm going to do 3B first tonight. For the benefit of the public here tonight, the speaking arrangements are as follows. The officers will summarise the report, and registered speakers will be invited to speak in this order: objector, supporter, parish or town councillor, ward councillor, applicant or agent. All registered speakers will be allowed to speak for up to 3 minutes, apart from a ward councillor who may speak for up to 5 minutes. In the event that all speakers are against an application, as chair, I'll grant the applicant or representative a time extension. I would respectfully ask members of the public who have not registered to speak to remain quiet throughout the proceedings. With that, we will move on to, let me find the right page, item 3B. Which is 2 Mount Pleasant, Adlington, with an update on your addendum, members. Kevin's going to present this item, so he starts. Needs to go on. Officer recommendation is that planning permission is refused for the reasons outlined within the report. I have 3 registered speakers. The objector, Donna Townsend, who said she may not speak. I think it depends on the baby. Ward Councillor Peter Wilson and the applicant, Top Law. Kevin, would you like to present the report, please?
Thanks, Chair. Sorry, just wait for the presentation to catch
Yeah,
up.
oh, yeah. I've thrown them by doing this. So. That's the one.
So this application is to change the use of 2 Mount Pleasant in Adlington from a 5-bedroom dwelling to a 5-bedroom house of multiple occupation. 32 objections have been received, and the points of objection are summarised in paragraph 6 on page 24 of your agenda, and a late representation is summarised on page 9 of the addendum report. This slide shows the location of the site. It's predominantly a residential area, and therefore the proposed use of a HMO is acceptable in principle. This is just aerial imagery of the site, just to show it in some context. So you can see that it's quite a high, densely populated residential area on a main route through Adlington. So this is the proposed site layout. This shows the lack of external space serving the property, and therefore the need to accommodate refuge storage at the front of the property. This is in a prominent location along a busy main road. This is considered to be unacceptable as it is an alien feature in the street scene and detrimental to the character and appearance of the area. So this is the existing floor plan of the property showing the room uses. So there is 4 bedrooms on the first floor, a bedroom on the ground floor along with kitchen and living room. So this is the proposed floor plan showing, again, the room layouts are pretty similar to what they are existing. But the size of the bedrooms indicate that up to 8 people could be accommodated at the property. Therefore, the level of activity at the property will be considerably greater than what would be expected at a family home. This is likely to lead to elevated levels of noise and disturbance for adjacent properties to the detriment of their residential amenity, and the proposal conflicts with Chorley Local Plan Policy BNE Part G. So just this is the first of 2 shots. So that shows the front of the property where the bin stores will be located on the left-hand side under the window, fronting Chorley Road. And then this is the front of the property onto Mount Pleasant. This isn't proposed to be changed as part of the application. But given the location and nature of the site, the application does not propose any off-street parking. However, this is the case at present, and Lancashire County Council Highways officers have no objection. To conclude, the proposal is recommended for refusal for the reasons set out on page 23 of your agenda and relating to the appearance of the bin stores at the front of the property and the increase in noise and disturbance caused by the proposed use. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Kevin. Donna did say she didn't know whether she'd be speaking or not, so I'll move straight to Councillor Wilson. Oh, sorry. Have you put your microphone? You want? Just press and you get a red. It's just so people can hear you if they're online, you see.
Okay, all right. Thank you for allowing us to speak on behalf of concerned residents and homeowners adjacent to Mount Pleasant. I've condensed many of the main concerns that have been raised during the recent meetings within the village in the past few weeks. They do sort of overlap with the already things that have been discussed. Firstly, the applicant does not own any of the outdoor yard at the rear of the property. There is a right of way down a shared passageway which cannot be obstructed with bins, bicycles or storage to allow for safe evacuation from the rear of the 4 properties surrounding number 2 Mount Pleasant. This leaves the applicant with no option but to store the bins at the front that has been shown in the previous slides. This is a very small piece of land. It's not big enough really for the 6 bins that I believe would be needed for a large HMO. And as residents and council officers have agreed, this would be very unsightly and messy around the main road and into the village centre and would create health and pest problems to adjoining residents. Secondly, concerns have been raised around increased noise pollution and disturbance issues with the proposed changes to a multi-living residence. This is a problem given that the only access to the rear of our properties is 128, 130 Charlie Road and number 4 Mount Pleasant. And this leads to the back door of the proposed HMO is through the small passageway mentioned before, followed by walking across land owned outright by 4 Mount Pleasant. The 4 houses are all very close together and face in on each other in this rear area. It's quite a confined space at the rear of the homes, but can I reiterate that the applicant owns none of the rear outdoor yard. Other concerns in brief that have been raised during meetings: parking congestion around the junction and access onto the main road from Mount Pleasant. As we saw on the slides, the proposed HMO sits directly on the corner of Charlie Road and Mount Pleasant, where parking and vehicle access from the main road is already congested. This has been highlighted by numerous formal objections submitted. Local people are also very concerned about turning family homes in the village of Adlington into bedsits, and these have been objected online as well through planning. The applicant has no outdoor space, again for storing bicycles, which is often a requirement for HMO, especially where there's no off-road parking for cars available. We do agree with all the main reasons for the refusal of this application that have been expressed by the planning officer, and we ask councillors to vote against this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to sort of reinforce and build on the comments that Donna has outlined there. Having been alerted to the application, I visited the area, and really what I'd like members to understand very, very clearly when making a decision is the actual very, very small space that we're talking about in 2 respects. The small space in terms of the rear of the property, at the rear of number 128, 130 Chorley Road and number 2 Mount Pleasant. That is a very, very confined space, a very, very confined area, and therefore any significant increase or any increase in activity in that area has a detrimental impact on the residents who live there and who are currently there. The second thing in terms of limited space is the limited space at the front of the property of number 2 going onto Chorley Road. I think, having walked past that area nearly every day of my life, to fit 6 bins in that little area at the front of number 2 would be almost impossible, let alone any other household items or goods, as it outlines in the report. And I would want to stress again to members to consider the impact that would have both on people living there and, as it says in the recommendation, in terms of the suitability for that in that area and the surrounding street scene. Because what you have is not just a very confined space where the bins would be supposedly stored, but you also have a very narrow footpath in front of that, which goes onto a very, very busy road. So we have to think of the consequences of anything in that area which would impact on residents and on other people who use that footpath. So I would like the members to consider that carefully, as it says in the report. I would also like to emphasise, I think, the point that was made in the introductory remarks, which is we are looking at, yes, 5 rooms, but that's not 5 people. 3 of those rooms are double rooms, and then we have 2 single rooms. So that's potentially 8 people. 8 people is a significant number, particularly when you're looking at a very confined space, as we are in terms of the rear access and in terms of the storage and other uses that you'd need an outdoor area for, which is just impossible on the area on the front of Chorley Road. So on that basis, Chair and members, I would like to support the comments made by the residents, but more importantly, I would like to move the recommendations that are in front of you in paragraphs 1, which is that they has refused on the basis of the outdoor amenity space would result in a large number of refuse bins and domestic paraphernalia being stored, and this would be out of keeping with the surrounding street scene and alien to the character of the locality, which is contrary to policy BNE1 of the local plan. And in addition, that the loss of amenity. The loss of amenity would actually cause disturbance in terms of noise to neighbouring occupiers, and again, that is contrary to policy BNE1 of the local plan. So on those two reasons, I would ask that members refuse this application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Now, have we got top online or not?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
No. Yeah, good evening, Chairman,
Good evening.
Chairperson, and member of the Planning Committee. Yeah, thank you for your time, allowing me to present our proposal to convert the 5-bedroom house into a share home for 5 individuals. We have considered the potential impacts to the community and have developed plans to address some of the key concerns. So firstly, traffic and transportation. We understand that there are concerns about the increase in traffic. However, adding 5 residents is unlikely to cause any significant changes. The house is close to public transportation, and the Highway Authority has expressed no objections. Also, we can encourage residents to use alternative travel methods to further minimize any impact. Secondly, noise and pollution. To minimize noise, we have added soundproofing inside of the house. We also we can implement a clear waste management system to ensure that a proper recycling to maintain the cleanliness for everyone. We acknowledge that the backyard is a shared space and that elderly neighbor resides nearby. To ensure everyone is comfortable, we will establish clear guidelines for our residents regarding to noise level and respectful use of the shared areas. Those guidelines will be communicated to all tenants and reinforced during our regular visits to monitor compliance. Our goal is to foster a pleasant living environment for everyone. Fourth, we have thoroughly reviewed the lease and the structure of the property. We've done a number of surveys, including drainage assessments, and all those evaluations confirm that there is no legal or structural issues preventing the house from being used as a 5-bed HMO. Finally, in terms of the bin area spaces, we can work with you to architect the house to ensure that there will be space, enough space, adequate space to safely store those bin storage areas. In summary, our plans to convert this property into a share home for 5 single individuals is to design to meet the local housing needs while respecting and enhancing our community, and are dedicated to ensure this is a positive addition to the neighborhood. To illustrate that, there's no plans to add 8 or 9, 7 people in the property. There'll be 5 single individuals for this property. Thank you for your consideration for our proposal.
Okay, thank you. Over to you, members. Councillor Southern?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It doesn't work. It's as simple as that. I share the concerns of the residents and the reasons put forward for it. What does concern me, it's come through as a sui generis application, which is an all-encompassing, and the point that's being made about the 5 bedrooms doesn't mean to say you're going to have 5 people in the house. So I would concur with what's already been said by that. But for me, the general look at it, how it fits within the neighbourhood, the bin issue particularly, it's a no from me, Chair. Sorry.
Councillor Lowe?
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, quite a comprehensive report. Could I bring members' attention, first of all, I want to concentrate on 2 aspects. Paragraph 17 of the report, which is my first main concern about the design and impact on the character of the area. Paragraph 17 is the comments from the council's waste officer that say a minimum of 6 bins. The prominence on of the site on a main road, which is Chorley Road, and so in my view, the bottom of paragraph 17 would still stand. Follow that on by paragraph 18 of the report, and to my mind, it has a detrimental impact on the area. If I could go on to the second aspect, which is the impact on the amenity of neighbouring occupiers, and I bring members' attention to paragraph 22 of the report, and I think just touching upon, I think a point that has been made by Councillor Wilson and also to a degree Councillor Southern, on paper, a change of use from a 5-bedroomed property to an HMO for 5, it's not an exact comparison. And to my mind, Chair, I also note paragraph 8 of the report, the comments from Council's Regulatory Services, which has raised concerns over the scale of the facilities inside of the property. And for those two reasons, which is basically the design and impact on the character of the area and the impact on the amenity on neighbourhood occupiers, I'd move recommendations to refuse the application for that it's contrary to policy BNE, let's just get thing in terms of, BNE1 of the Chorley Local Plan, and also recommendation 2 that it would significantly increase the comings and goings over and above the existing situation. I formally move, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Law. Councillor Green. Councillor Beach.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So I do quite a lot of list picking in my local area, and wherever there's a group of bins around, there's normally a lot of debris and detritus that gets caught in amongst the bins by being blown in there. And if bins get split, do people clean up as well as they should do? And I suspect with it's a HMO, that might not be the case. So from my experience, just going out and about in my community, I know that these can be a hotspot for bugs and pests. So I understand the concerns about the bins there. In addition to, with the 2 weekly collection we have, with the bin stored under somebody's window, especially around the summertime, I know that my bin's not always the nicest bin in the world, and I have it stored around the side of my house, well out of the way. So I think if anybody was living in that room, wanted the window open and to try and get some fresh air, they might be sadly disappointed. And certainly that would bring, unwelcome smells into the property. And I know there's been HMOs approved elsewhere in Chorley, but they've really been run about the centre as well, where we do have a local access to a train station and regular bus routes and taxi services. Looking at where this is on the map, I just don't understand how other people are going to get to that property generally easy without the use of cars, and I don't see the facilities around there for that as well. So on a number of regions there, certainly around the bins and just generally, I think the lack of parking as well, and the points of Councillor Lowred, I would second what Councillor's proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Beach, and then I've got Councillor Wilkie.
It's okay, Chair. I was going to formally move the officer recommendations.
Councillor Wilkie.
Thank you, Chair. We do need properties, and we do need accommodation. The policy of BNE1 does state quite clearly that this is in contravention of that. My major concern is this is a major highway. Any visual impaired persons, wheelchair users, would be having their right of way obscured by this. So I would completely agree. I would be very concerned about 5 additional people being in such close proximity, because these properties are not just adjoined in the space, they're also attached. So I do think that noise is a big issue, and I would move to agree that we accept officer recommendations.
Okay. Anybody else wish to comment? Councillor Marwood.
Just a quick... I just want to emphasise that I agree with the officer's report, but I just want to point out that we have no objection in principle to HMOs. And so I would emphasise that we have passed many of these lately, and there have been genuine reasons for doing so. And there are genuine reasons in this case not to do so. They've got to be right. The scale's got to be right. The facilities have got to be right. And as it's pointed out on paragraph 8, and as Councillor Lowe has said, it doesn't quite fit what we would expect in terms of quality of this provision. I'm no great fan of any wheelie bins, to be perfectly honest. There are many streets in Chorley which are totally crowded out during bin day, and you have to walk into the road, and it's a pity we can't do something about those. But in this case, we can do something about them. They're not in the right place. There will be noise, there will be disturbance, and I'm happy to support the recommendation.
Okay. Any more comments? Otherwise, if not, I'll move to the vote. Okay, Dan. I know what you did. Okay.
Members have resolved to refuse planning permission for the reasons outlined in the officer's report.
Okay, thank you. And if you've come for that item, which I know you all have, please feel free to go. It's for the officer recommendation. It's been turned down. Yeah, you need it, yeah. Yeah, please. She didn't say that. No worries. Item 3A we'll go to now. The Boatyard, Bolton Road, Hop. And I've not found the right page on it. Too many pieces of paper, that's what. I'll get there, yeah. It's pages 7 to 50 with an update on your addendum. Mike's going to present this item. Recommendation remains that planning permission is granted subject to conditions. I have no registered speakers. Right, Mike, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. The application site is located in the green belt at Horton, adjacent to the Leeds-Liverpool Canal, and is currently occupied by the remains of the external shell of the former Grill and Grain public house. A single-storey linear comprising 6 units of overnight accommodation and large areas of hard standing. The public house was extensively renovated in 2016. However, after a relatively short period of operation, following renovation works, the building was severely damaged by fire in 2017, leading to its partial demolition and current state of dereliction. Planning permission was subsequently granted in 2022 for the redevelopment of the site for offices, although the applicant has since re-evaluated their options and is now instead seeking full planning permission for the erection of 7 dwellings following the demolition of the existing buildings on the site and using the current access from Bolton Road. A full assessment of the scheme against Greenbelt policy is provided in the committee report, and members will note that although officers consider the proposal as inappropriate development in the Greenbelt, very special circumstances exist to outweigh the harm. The proposal is therefore considered to be acceptable in principle. One representation has been received in support of the proposal and one against from the operators of an adjacent seasonal wedding venue. There are no outstanding objections from technical consultees subject to conditions. A full assessment of technical issues are provided in the committee report, and members will note that officers consider the scheme as acceptable in terms of potential impacts relating to the character of the area, amenity, highway safety, ecology and drainage. The officer recommendation is to approve subject to conditions as outlined in the main reports. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Straight over to you, members.
Thank you, Chair. I have no problems with this application. In fact, I look forward to the site being revitalised. It's been looking pretty miserable for some time now, and so I think it's an excellent use of the land. So I'm happy to support the recommendation.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, this is Greenbelt and we have a cardinal rule about that, but I think anything that's done to this standard on that particular site has to be an improvement, and the actual comprehensive report does set out that clearly that this will not impact on the visual amenity of any neighbouring properties. The only concern I do have is on paragraph 57 on the original report, the concern over the internal layout of the carriageway, that it's not suitable for adoption, and that is known from the outset. The concern that I have is that there may be potentially ongoing issues. There is also mention of refuge vehicles turning and, you know, the detriment to properties on the entrance of the estate. But the concern that I have is that we know from the outset that this is not an adoptable area, therefore it will be classed as a private road, and therefore no footpaths as well. My concern is ongoing, will we place a condition on the developer that they will establish some sort of management scheme to maintain and upkeep the area, the pavements, the roads, the access and the area, because it will never be adopted according to the plan that we have submitted. And I would like to see that as a condition, that the developer put something in for a management going forward for that, just to protect the residents going forward. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Councillor.
Mike.
Subsequently to highways making those comments in terms of the swept path of vehicles and there being some conflict with, I think, gate posts and hedges they mentioned, they have submitted a revised boundary treatment plan in support of the proposal that eradicates those concerns. Also, I'd refer you to condition 20 of the addendum report, which has been recommended by Lancashire County Council Highways, which is for the future management and maintenance of streets. So they'll have to submit details of how they'll be maintained going forward in the future. And also condition 21 is for the full details of engineering, drainage, street lighting of the roads. So it's covered in those conditions.
Okay. Councillor Southern.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, this has already been pointed out. It's been rather heavily conditioned for the simple reason it is Greenbelt, but there are special circumstances, and I would second the proposal that we accept Office's recommendation to accept this scheme. I think the housing proposed works, and I see no problem that's going forward provided we comply with the conditions. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? If not, I'll move to the vote. Yeah, please.
So members have unanimously resolved to grant full planning permission subject to conditions.
C. Pages 71 to 88. Kevin's going to present this item, the recommendation that planning permission is granted subject to conditions. I have two registered speakers, and Objector Alison Worley and the applicant Mark Twinone. Kevin, over to you.
Thanks, Chair. This application is for the conversion of an existing outbuilding to provide additional living accommodation for one young person in association with the existing use of the property at 132A Southport Road. Two letters of objection have been received, and the points of objection are summarised in paragraph 6 of the report on pages 31 and 32 of the agenda. The application site is a detached property that was approved to be used as a children's home in 2022. This planning permission restricted the number of children cared for to 4, and this application does not result in an increase of the number of children cared for at the property. Therefore, the principle of development is considered acceptable. The garage is not of a sufficient size to contribute to the site's car parking provision. The parking requirement does not increase as a result of this application, and Lancashire County Council have no objections to the proposals on highway grounds. There are no external changes proposed to the existing dwelling. The garage will have a number of changes, including the window facing the boundary with 132 Southport Road to the east is proposed to be removed. The garage doors will be replaced by windows and brickwork, and the appearance of the garage is considered to be acceptable. The removal of the window means that no overlooking of the neighbouring garden will occur. The use of the outbuilding as additional accommodation will not create any unacceptable amenity impacts. The proposal is considered to be acceptable and in compliance with the relevant local plan policies. Therefore, the application is recommended for approval, subject to the conditions set out on pages 34 and 35 of your report. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. Have I got Alison? Yeah. Okay. Would you like to speak now, please?
Thank you. My husband and I have lived on Southport Road, Ullswalton, for 28 years. The property next door to us is a subject to this planning application. We wish to object and express our concerns about the new proposal to convert the existing double garage into a living/sleeping accommodation for one other child. This garage is a big problem for us as it abuts our property and not the children's home. Any noise made in this garage transmits into our lounge at the rear of our home because it's been built over the boundary. The other issue is that it's been built over a part-piped, part-brick culvert and has shallow footings. This unfortunately has caused the garage to subside, and a soakaway is contributing to the problem with high surface water presence, hence why the previous neighbours only used it for storage. There's also a side window which faces onto the back garden property, which should not be there. Our builders noticed over 20 years ago that there was a big problem with the garage, and this was also confirmed by the team of construction workers who did the conversion of the house to the children's home and related this back to the current owners. When planning permission was granted in 2022, it was to accommodate 4 vulnerable children. The Ofsted inspector reduced the number of children down to 3 due to in part the size of the rear garden. There's no front garden as stated in the planning officer's report, which has been removed and tarmacked for use as parking. The application, if granted, would increase the number of children back up to 4, with one child living separately in the converted garage. Ofsted are aware of the concerns which we have, and we've sent the relevant department. On the original application of change of use, it stated that there will be 2 cars and maybe 3 changeover of staff, but this has never been the case, with anything from 6 to 9 vehicles parking there daily, and the associated noise with the slamming of car doors. This number of vehicles does not allow for the safe manoeuvring on and off the premises onto what is an already busy, dangerous A road. From the onset, we've been plagued with multiple vehicles parking both on the road and obstructing the footpaths and on the driveway itself. This has obstructed our vision from entering and exiting ours and our neighbours' driveways. They seem to have complete disregard for the local neighbourhood and highway, which has caused a lot of ill feeling to us and our surrounding neighbours. It does appear to be more of a meeting venue than a home. There's been other issues with a regular police presence and mistaken calls to our home from police and paramedics, sometimes in the middle of the night, which has been most unsettling. We have concerns, speaking as both parents and grandparents. In particular, we question the application report, item 12, which does seem to contradict itself. It states that the use of the garage will not change. If the proposal is to change it into living, sleeping accommodation for 1 extra child, how can that be? How will the staff ensure the safety of the separated vulnerable child from the main home? Are they proposing to take more garden away to connect it up to the main building? We've not been able to view any plans. We know the main house is not a locked facility. This came to light due to a previous child being misplaced. He wandered off regularly in the early days and was close to being knocked down. We are thankful that he was safely rehomed. We all are entitled to live a safe and peaceful existence. Plead with you to refuse this application on this basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Have I got Mark, please?
My name is Mark Twynham. I represent the organisation that operates the children's home at 132A Southport Road. We're applying to convert a disused outbuilding into a semi-independent suite for a 4th young person. Naturally, conversion will meet all relevant building regulations. Since opening in 2023, our home has become a calm, stable and nurturing environment where 3 young people are thriving under the care of a consistent and committed team. The quality of our work is regulated and acknowledged by Ofsted, safeguarding teams and our local PCSO, who praise our proactive safeguarding, professionalism and positive outcomes we deliver. This is intended for a young person already in our care, not a stranger, but someone we know well. It's not an expansion, but a transitional space designed to make more meaningful use of what already exists. The young person will already have a strong, trusting relationship with the team, will know their strengths, their needs and their potential. Too many young people in care face a loss of support network the moment they turn 18. This model helps us bridge that gap and not widen it. The suite forms part of our adolescence programme, which builds essential life skills, cooking, budgeting, job readiness, and supports a young person's journey into independence. Entry is not automatic. It follows a rigorous multi-agency assessment based on progress and readiness. For the right young person, this suite could be the difference between thriving independently or becoming another statistic in a system that often fails care leavers. That's why this proposal is not just justified, it's essential. In response to concerns, police presence is minimal. Now, it usually consists of routine PCSO visits, a standard part of safeguarding regulated care. Parking has been confirmed as sufficient by LCC Highways. We use our driveway as much as possible, even when it inconveniences staff, a courtesy often overlooked. Noise and activity, albeit minuscule, are consistent with any family home of this size. For school runs, the odd visit and daily life. And to clarify, this is not a secure unit. The children are not locked in. The suite supports a safe step-down care within a trusting and supported framework. We've gone above and beyond to be considerate neighbours, yet ordinary everyday occurrences, a parked car or someone visiting our children in care, are at times exaggerated and labelled disruptive. In most communities, these would pass unnoticed, and the efforts from the team to appease the neighbours would be hailed as commendable. Here they're magnified, not because of any real impact, but because they challenge a version of tranquility that leaves little room for real life. This proposal won't alter the character of the area. It simply allows us to deliver better outcomes for 1 young person, using the space we already have. So I ask that you consider this application based on facts, not fear, and the real world outcomes we continue to achieve. Thank you.
Over to you, members. Councillor Hilton.
Thank you, Chair. I think we've already got permission here for 4 children already, and we're not actually going to increase the number of children here. So nothing is going to change since the previous planning permission was granted in that respect. In terms of having police and paramedics there, that could happen at any house at any time, anywhere else. And I think what members need to be considerate of is if this were not a children's home, this were just a residential property, a family we're living in, which is the sort of what we're trying to emulate here for these young children to grow up in a normal life as we possibly can. This would actually be permitted development that would not require planning permission. So the conversion could just happen straight away. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm happy to propose office recommendations, and I think it's important that we support young people who've had a difficult start in life, and hopefully this will help them move forward. So I'm proposing office recommendations. Thank you.
Councillor Beach.
I think it's commendable what you do. These children are awfully forgotten about if they're not in an environment that you are, and it's a nurturing one, and it's good to hear an organisation like yourselves that actually provide that stepping stone from them being children to young adults to standing on their own 2 feet, basically. So with that in mind, I'm happy to second officer recommendations, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I don't entirely disagree with the point that Councillor Hilton's made vis-a-vis if this was another property and it was a simple conversion to, say, a granny flat, it wouldn't be an issue. The word that's been brought up here is fear, and I do have a fear, actually, in terms of where this is situated, particularly in its conjunction within Southport Road. I wouldn't normally, and I can't exactly tell from the photographs we've had up there, but I wouldn't normally propose a site visit. But I think on this occasion, I would like the committee to consider doing a site visit to this site to see exactly where it is, where it's proposed to, just so that we are clear that we are happy with this. I say this for the simple reason that Highways have actually mentioned that we want to condition this. They've actually asked for a condition putting in there that we do make sure and we stipulate the condition is no more than 4 children. I've heard, obviously evidence being given by the public speaker in favour of this, that there'll be at a certain age. It's not specified in there what the age is. Ultimately, it could be any child for that matter. But whilst I'm not disputing anything in terms of what the officer's recommendation is for passing this, I do think with this particular application, with this particular property, its proximity to the house next door particularly, it would be just worth members of the committee going out and making sure we're happy with this. And this has got nothing to do with the children as such. It's commendable what we're doing for them. It's more the question of Highways have asked for this to be conditioned, and I would just like to be sure in my mind why they're asking for that, and to be sure of it before we make a decision on that. So I would propose a site visit, Chair. Thank you.
You didn't get quick enough on the line.
Members have resolved to grant planning permission subject to conditions.
Okay, that's the end of the planning applications. I have no urgent business, so thank you, members. Councillor Marwood.
won't keep you long,
Councillor
Chair.
Maud.
I just wanted to say that this will be my last planning meeting.
So it will. Oh, it's because he's going to these
Because
loft.
as mayor, I cannot be on planning, and neither can I be the exec member. So 10 years I've enjoyed this, and I have enjoyed it 99% of the time. There's been some very interesting cases, but just to say thank you very much for everybody and the support that I've had as exec member, especially from Adele. No offence, Kevin. I will miss it, but and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And you will be. And I'm sure your calm, sensible reasoning will be missed on this committee. You've served us well over the years.